let's get into it, and let's start off with the number 1 overall pick, which is probably more likely than not, the betting odds are overwhelming that it's going to be Caleb Williams, minus 20,000. But of course, you're not going to bet that. But let's see if we can find some stuff to bet with Caleb Williams. And first up, let's look at offensive rookie of the year. RJ, is this a spot where you would go with Caleb Williams at plus 350, or do you like something else with Williams?
I think the odds make sense for him to be the favorite. I don't know that I'm going to play him at plus 350, but it's probably going to end up being fine value. I think it'll be lower than that by the time we get to week 1. So if you want to play it now, I think that's fine. It's also a situation where we know where he's going to end up, and a lot of these guys we don't know where they're going to end up. And if you want to play that uncertainty, I like Brian Thomas as a sleeper at 20-1. Initially expected him to be in the 15-16 range. Market has pounded him over. He might get down to like 20. He's juiced to get to it in a second. He's juiced to go over 19.5 right now. That makes it easier for the Bills to trade up for him. And the Bills need a number 1 receiver. And if he's the number 1 receiver in Buffalo catching passes from Josh Allen, he's going to put up stats. So I think he's a good value at 20-1. If they can't get him and they stay at where they are, I think Adonai Mitchell becomes the pivot at 35-1 as a potential receiver 1. But it's really going to come down to where these guys land.
It makes a lot of sense because, again, we don't know where a lot of these guys are going to go. Caleb Williams is the only one we feel very definitive that he will go to the Chicago Bears. Emery, how did you like the way that Chicago crafted their roster this offseason in free agency and obviously trading for Keenan Allen? How did you like those pieces coming together with Williams? And, again, how do you feel about his Rookie of the Year odds? And like RJ just did, throw out who you like in this one as well.
Well, we know it's a quarterback award, right? If the quarterback is doing well on a team, especially the number 1 overall pick, is kind of biased in that way. And I love the fact that they've added a run game. DeAndre Swift is a fantastic back. They were trending in the right direction last year toward the back end of the season, which I was like, they shouldn't have gotten rid of Justin Fields. But now you add even more talent and a pretty talented quarterback. So I can understand why he's a favorite. And if you want to lay something on him right now, why it's plus money for sure. However, we know it's a splash kind of award as well, because if you think about what we saw last year, we saw a lot of wild plays from C.J. Stroud, which subsequently led him to bringing his team to the playoffs. So Jaden Daniels, if he goes to Washington, I think there's a very good setup for him to have success. So that would be better value in my opinion, but I just feel like it's going to go to either one of these QBs, but both, if potentially go 1 and 2, are going into really good situations in my opinion.
Proppy, do you jive with that?
I do for the most part. Yeah, I think there's obviously we've got some a very deep quarterback class. Jaden Daniels, to me, because of his dual threat capabilities, is going to have success right away. I agree with Emery. If he winds up on a team like Washington, who's obviously struggled a lot recently, he could really turn around their fortune. And that would be a guy I would look at. I'd also look at someone like Michael Penix as well. I think if he landed, let's say, on Minnesota or Las Vegas, he'd be poised to have a potentially big impact as a rookie. But again, not knowing where these guys are ultimately, playing really is going to prevent me from, doing anything more than a sprinkle at this stage. I'd rather wait and see where they land, who's going to emerge, as a clear-cut starter. Love where RJ is looking at Brian Thomas as a potential value as well. I just think based on where he's projected to go in that 15 to 25 range, likely going to be on a good team, which would certainly benefit him. And he looks to be potentially have a huge ceiling. So, I think these are guys are all worth a speculative look, but it just really comes down to where they end up getting drafted.
And if we want to stick with Caleb Williams and try to find something specifically with him in his rookie season, you guys make great points about other rookies of the year, but maybe let's look at his regular season total passing yards. The number is set at 3,350.5. It's even money. Prop, do you like that, the over? Do you like the under here? And you can throw in, again, how do you like that they crafted their roster already around Williams, presuming that he's going to be the pick?
I really like what Chicago's done, especially on the offensive side of things. Adding a guy like Keenan Allen, who's obviously going to be operating over the middle of the field, close to the line of scrimmage, really going to be a quarterback's best friend there. Having a player as explosive as DJ Moore on the perimeter as well. I thought Cole Kmet obviously looks to be a plus starter at tight end, adding DeAndre Swift. So I think this team is poised to be quite a bit better offensively. So I really like all the moves that Chicago made in the offseason. I think Caleb's going to be in a position to have success right away. They'll also get a good feel to know, whether he's the guy that they expect him to be. So love all of the moves. I would definitely lean over. I really think if he gets in 16, 17 games, he's going to eclipse this total of 3,300 passing yards. So I typically shy away from season-long when it comes to playing overs on season-long player props. But yeah, I would definitely be over or nothing as far as I'm concerned.
And Emery, I think that, a variable here which could make this number move a little bit is depending on what Chicago does with their other first round pick. If there's a wide receiver at that spot, you would have to assume that they could potentially go down that route to add to that offense, and that would move this number, right?
Or if they go edge rusher, because again, we know better defense equals more offense, right?
Sure.
So it kind of can go either way. The number that really stands out is 17, because that extra game, and we're talking about just under 200 yards passing a game in our Lord's year of the 2024. Like, I feel like he could hit that number, because he's a scrambler, but he's not necessarily a guy that's going to average, or grab 600 yards rushing on the ground. He's scrambling kind of like Patrick Mahomes to throw deep down the field. And when you added the weapons around there, and like you said, if they add another receiver, or if they go pass rusher, it gets better defense and gets more possessions. I feel like this is a very low number, so I would definitely go over.
And RJ, Proppy kind of touched on this as well. How do you attack these season longs when, again, the dude isn't even on an NFL team yet, and it's April? How do you look at this, and what do you think of this number?
Yeah, they're comfortable putting this number out though because they know what team he's going to be on. You wouldn't put this out for Jaden Daniels at this point because you need to know what offense he's playing in. But yeah, I think 200 yards per game should be his floor. So if he's playing 17 games, you got to like the over here. The one thing to play devil's advocate, the one thing I would caution, that Bears defense was amazing in the second half last year, played very well. So if they are controlling the games and allow the Bears to win these lower scoring games, and he doesn't have to throw as much, put him more at risk, hand off some, he might not get there, if he's just not going to have these high volume games. So we'll see if that Bears defense can replicate what they did in the second half of last year. Might bring down his attempt total, which would then, lower his ceiling, obviously, for passing yards. But you got to figure he should get to 200 yards per game.